Oh, hi.
Hi. But this is going to be the opposite of a deep dive. It's going to be
Casual. It's going to be light.
cursory wade into some of the issues that are going on today. Because I don't know if you've checked it out, but everything's still fucked.
I was going to say fine.
Everything's still fine.
Okay.
Yeah, or maybe not. But I have some notes on this iPad. Thank you, Ghost of Steve Jobs, for inventing this.
Who's the other guy? Apple. Tim Apple.
Tim Apple. Thank you, Ghost of Tim Apple, for inventing this. And we're going to sort of look at it, because here's where we're at. Global virus apocalypse. 15.5 million people infected. What the fuck, Earth? How did this happen? Yeah, it's absolutely fucked. There's 4 million people infected in the US alone. America wins! Yeah! Did you, back in February, think that when the pandemic was kicking off that it was just going to be scum cunt countries who fall by the wayside and the good old US of A, they'll do all right?
I don't know. Like, I guess I was so worried about my own mortality that I wasn't really thinking. I was like, where's me Mad Max-esque? Like, I went well future. Snowpiercer,
Sticking
Mad
spikes all over the car.
Yeah, post-apocalyptic. So I definitely wasn't thinking, like, who's going to suffer the worst? And I think early on, Italy was suffering, which I think... Is there scum cunt? I mean, how are we defining scum cunt countries anymore? Like,
This is the seat of modern civilization, the scum cunt country.
Yeah.
No.
So
But, yeah, we were sort of watching all that going down and we thought, oh, at least the US will handle it. And then they
did we
had...
though? Because I also feel like, aren't they like notorious for like terrible healthcare and like they
Terrible
don't love poor
healthcare?
people exactly,
It's,
and also Orange Man in charge.
It's
so.
the seat of rank capitalism and the devaluing of human life
Yeah,
over
yeah,
profit.
yeah.
And these sort of things kind of require the opposite of that.
So I don't know if it is. Like it seems about right. Like yeah, America.
So instead, I think everyone was like, Americans are dying. And we don't really want them to die.
We don't want
But
anyone
I
to
think the country that has sort of exerted its will over the globe in 50 years, utterly shitting the bed on this and not even being able to stop its own citizens from dying in the hundreds of thousands from just a flu is...
Hey, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, not a big
Just
deal.
like
Nothing to worry about. I reckon in, like, by the end of the month, we'll have like 17, 18 cases. Boom. Fucking hell.
But you can't blame. Also, like I feel like you can't. Yeah.
Can and will. No, what were you saying?
I guess like they have Orange Man as their leader, and that's got it. Like it is the like it's never a good time to have an irrational, bad faith actor as your leader. But like this has got to be like bit extra bad, right?
Extra bad, yes. But I think...
Well, we were rewatching Mad Men, and they're going through the Bay of Pigs, right, at the moment on the show. Can you imagine if Donald Trump, Orange Man, was like in charge during an act, like something like that?
This professional
Nuclear
coward,
war.
mean person
Yeah.
who does not care about people.
He'd be siding with the Cubans somehow. They'd be like, yeah,
Find a
I love
way.
dictatorship.
These very good people on both
Love,
sides of the
very
Bay of
good,
Pigs.
tremendous people.
Yeah. Excuse me, coronavirus. I think it's very easy to blame the leaders, but I think there and here, and this is something we'll come back to over and over again as we sort of look at how
I
hell
love
it got
repeating
so
myself.
fucked, is that it's not just the current leader, it's been a direction for years. It's, you know, when
What's the
when you privatize everything, when you push individual personalized success and clambering over each other in a rat race over a collective community togetherness and unity, what you kind of get is you get a system that's not designed to help people who need help, and you get a culture of it's those people's fault, it's those people's fault, it's the security guard, it's the fucking Ramadan, it's this, it's the Chinese, this business is what's going on. And something we're going to sort of touch on today is that doesn't help.
When really what you want is a hive mind of a unified...
A gestalt entity that sort of
Yeah.
sends psychic powers through and we all operate as
like
one.
that planet that Rick has sex with.
Yeah, unity. Not the
Yeah.
planet, the collective species, the
Yeah.
hive mind. Yesterday, which was probably the day before yesterday by the time this goes out, date goes.
How prophetic.
There, we had the single greatest increase in global cases. So this is the opposite of things going well. And yet the general trend from leaders seems to be, we're going to open up.
It's the economy.
We gotta look after the economy.
The economy's time to shine.
And-
Except for all those other millions of years where the economy was shining.
Yeah, and in Victoria, Australia, it's been sort of worse than anywhere else in the country. Victoria,
We're leading the way in terribleness.
we are. I put the note down here. Victoria shits the bed. So, yeah, 7,000 people are infected. 7,000 plus. Stats go. Let's just give sort of 10 seconds of crazy stats everywhere. Oh Christ! Oh fuck! Oh Jesus shit! What the fuck is that? What's on my face? All right, those are all the stats. So there's over like 7,000 people are infected in Victoria alone. It's half the national total. 140 deaths nationwide, 50 plus in Victoria. I'm shouting at the iPad. This is your fault, Steve. It hasn't gone well. And I think people are like, oh, well, you know, security guards looking after quarantine arenas. Well, fucking the quarantine arenas. There were regular people staying in the hotels.
Quarantine. You know, sexy, like the sexiness of quarantine where you can't leave and you're infected maybe. Like, No?
Yeah. There's porn to be had of this where they go to bang and he goes to put on the dinger and she's like, no, I want to catch it.
Like bug chasers.
Like bug chasers, but for coronavirus. Well, they had that in the States. They had people throwing...
like coughing in people's faces.
They weren't called bug parties or something, but it was basically where the intention was to see how bad it is.
Yeah.
And you see the Twitter story of, it's all bullshit. Oh, I don't feel so good. Steve died today.
Okay, here's my question, right? Like, I'm not like particularly like, oh, fate's real or the universe has, like, obviously the universe is indifferent to my existence and blah, blah, blah. But like, it just seems like, you know, who the fuck do you think you are to tempt fate like that? To be like, I am gonna... like how
I am so confident that this is bullshit that I will catch
whose
this
fault
thing.
is that they think that way? Also though, I would say, do you not remember being 20 and thinking that you will never die?
Yes, in a general sense, but not in a specific sense.
Not in a
like you
specific
think you
sense,
won't
like
get
something bad's gonna
sick,
happen.
you think you won't have a car accident, but these people are looking at one particular way to die and saying, nah.
Not me.
But this is what happens when you denigrate science. And like the Murdoch media and the general culture of leaders has been, fuck science unless it serves our purposes. We want to do the things that make us and our mates
Well, that's
rich.
what happens when you make there being no truth anymore, right?
Yeah, you break truth. And also science is like a process of we're working out what the fuck's going on.
Yes,
And people
which
who would
they've
like
made
to...
they've made it seem like that undermines the scientific, like it's like the very scientific process that makes finding out information a good process has been undermined by the fact that the process takes time or that there is
And that everyone sees every step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
also
everybody. It's not like, okay, so I feel like, was there ever a time where there was like static truth is being published and it takes so long for, you know, like you publish a book and because it's a book, it's obviously true. And then there's just no, like, we don't, you know it as a fact.
Well, science now exists in the 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah.
So it's like everything gets updated.
Twitter,
We need more
60-second
more
news cycle.
content for the grinder. And shit like that. And they're just like, oh, there's been a new development. There are results of tests. And they're like, well, we're still working it out. Doesn't matter. This drug works. That drug works. Everyone drink chloroquine. All that sort of stuff.
Chloroquine. Remember when we had to look up how to say that?
We did,
Chloroquine.
and I didn't double check. We also had to look up how to say bar for the ballet studios.
Like the Prime Ministeress.
The Prime Minister, our great guy. So things are bad in Victoria, worse than anywhere else in the country. So we're in stage 3 lockdown. There's talks of a mythical.
Not us, just the
Not
city.
us. We're outside. We're
in the nether region. It's like on the
outside.
outside of the city. So
Yeah, we
it's
live on an oil platform about 50 miles out into free water.
That's why we're able to have this radio station.
Yeah, it's radio station, radio goodies, and out for a walk in the Black Forest side too. So things are bad here. They keep talking about lockdown stage 4, but no one really knows what that means.
Oh, mystery stage 4, and the jokes are just like, what's gonna happen?
Stage 4 is where the Australian Defence Force comes to your house and takes
a
bag
shit in your
over
mouth.
your head.
Yeah.
That's it. You can't be trusted. We gave you a chance whether you could leave. Because every step of the way with these things. Sorry, you're cutting in. Would you like to cut in, Josie? This is why every episode goes for 25 minutes.
Because I slap you on the arm, that's what I want to, that's how I burrow into conversations.
You have mine and the world's 100 subscribers attention.
74. I was gonna say, oh no, you put me in the spot, made me stressed. But basically, like, what am I saying? Oh no. What were we talking about?
Fuck's sake.
No, genuinely, like, you distracted me for
Masks, stage 4.
Okay, like that every step of the way, people try to find a way to weasel or get around. Like it's like a fun, I don't know, how can I like bend the rules? How can I, well, maybe the rule says that I can only have 10 people here, but then maybe I can go and do, like, what is wrong with you? Like, it's not in the spirit of like, don't you want, like.
It's like, haha, 2 of my friends are co-joined twins, so I'm breaking the rules. We got 11 people here, haha, but only 10 sets of feet.
Like what is the benefit of that? Like
you're jumping ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is where we're going. No, that's fine, because this brings us to masks.
Is the mighty power that can save the day.
So one of the things they've done before they go to lockdown 4, whatever the fuck that is, and
Stage 4.
sort of in the wake of letting all the people who are locked up in the commission flats out again, because that's all resolved now.
That's all definitely fine.
Well, they tested everyone and they isolated the people who were sick.
But it was also like a heinous abuse of human rights. So
And I don't know that everyone who missed out on work has been compensated yet, because that's the other thing. They keep saying there's money, but it takes a while
like
to
the
get.
delightful $300 payment. Cool, that's really going to sort me out.
Yeah, there's guys still waiting for their burnt down houses to be paid for. The government,
Masks.
Daniel Andrews, they've said you have to wear masks outside if you're in the quarantine zone of the Melbourne, Bits and the Mitchell Shire. And this is intensely polarising. And firstly, I want to say I get it. Masks suck. You feel like a pussy wearing one.
Why do you feel like
it's
a
like an
pussy?
even lamer version of a seatbelt. It sits on your face, you talk into it, your own piece of shit breath is coming back in there. It's prickly. All right, I get it. Masks suck, and it's lame to care, and it's lame to be concerned about your own personal safety. It's that Macho Joe Rogan thing.
I don't think so.
Where he was being like an alpha bro over his open nose and throat, lording it over Bill Burr. Yeah.
Wear a mask.
So I get that. I understand. But they've said you have to wear a mask or it's a $200 fine. But really, when you look at it, it's still the honour system. Like, you can get out of wearing a mask and, and I've seen professional agitators, and when I say professional, I mean they panhandle for this service, panhandling agitators who are, offering ways to get out of wearing a mask. Oh, all you need to do is print out this and read this when they try to stop you.
Use the Constitution, you just hold it up and...
Magna Carta says, I know common law, and as a citizen of the earth, I don't have to cover my face because you don't own
This is my free
the 4 feet of air in front of me.
Yeah.
But like the way they brought the mask rule in is it's built in to accommodate this anyway. So if you're like
What's built in?
the way the punitive qualities of the mask rules. So they're like, look, wear a mask, but also, if it makes you allergic, or if you've got some sort of trauma related to having your face covered, that would be sort of confronting to do that. If kids are under 12, because it's just too fucking hard to get kids to do it. If you got, like if you had trigeminal neuralgia and you couldn't wear anything on your face because it hurt too much. There's a whole bunch of reasons.
That's very specific.
And I'm specifically relating it to a friend. But they've got all these things in there, and they don't even ask for medical certificates if you say that. So it's the honour system, and people are acting like you've got to make it your civic duty as a rebellious libertarian to fight against it. But it's like, what they're really saying is they're just saying, look, please, if you can, for fuck's, just wear a mask, okay? Just please don't be difficult. We don't want to punish anyone. We don't want you, maybe you're healthy, maybe you're not. And the argument of I shouldn't have to wear one because I'm a healthy person, you don't fucking know for about a week and a half. That's the biggest insidious thing about coronavirus is you don't fucking know up front, and you walk around just going blah, 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 and spraying the germs all over everyone.
Do you see that doctor who ran a marathon just to prove that you actually don't lose any oxygen inhalation?
Well, that's sort of oxygen inhalation. I mean, that's why doctors are passing out on top of you while they're operating.
Like, I was watching in the Reddit forum of public freakouts all the Karens, or people identified as Karens, who are just like basically refusing to wear masks and then being kicked out of places for not wearing masks. And again, sure, choose not to wear a mask, but then you also have to suffer the consequences of like social judgment.
Yeah, eat it. It's like anything else. But these people are sort of treating this sort of stubborn intransigence as part of their identity.
Yeah,
I won't be told.
Yeah.
And again, this is everything that they went through, and they were like, you have to wear a seatbelt now. We don't fucking care. We'll fine you. But even then, this is much looser than that, and people are acting like it's more freedoms. I mean,
more freedoms.
It's like I am empathetic and interested in ideas revolving around the eradication of cash and using coronavirus as an excuse for that. I can see how there are issues there. I think, empowering enforcement officers can have dangerous consequences when it's done too liberally. There are issues here that are worth addressing. And I think when people get all up about they're trying to make me wear a mask, you're cheapening the idea of holding power to account by being a pissy little bitch about something irrelevant.
Totally. I think that's the problem. It's like the all lives matter of arguments. It derails everything. Like, shut up.
Diluting the issue.
Yeah, shut up, man.
Also, there's a contradiction in that, because at the same time, or at least for the last few years, a lot of the type of people who don't want to wear a mask are the same people who object to things like facial recognition software and cameras being everywhere and the surveillance state. And you not only have permission to hide your face, you are being asked to do so. And to me, like, beyond the discomfort and the concern about looking like a pussy, in many ways, this
Stop
is a
saying
boon.
that. You're perpetuating the idea that like wearing a mask is feminine.
It's well, I don't agree with it, but I understand. Look, not that it's feminine, but that there is something.
What, caring about your mortality and caring about others is lame and stupid. No,
Yes.
do not. You're don't stop saying that you understand it. That's terrible.
I don't agree with it, but I am familiar with the social
Type of people
and
that would
societal constructs and all the mess bound up in that I don't want to unpack in this video. That
I think we did an episode about masculinity and masks, didn't we?
it never made a final cut. I wasn't woke enough. I fucked it up. But I get the idea that avoidance of harm is in some ways seen as being unmasculine. I think it's fucking stupid.
That's
but I
stupid.
understand that it exists. But in this situation, it's like in some ways, like fuck yeah, wear a mask. If we're being filmed every time we're in the CBD, then I'm quite happy to hide my face in that.
It doesn't have to be like a gross
kinda
surgical
cool.
mask. Maybe a rad, cool, like sexy. Like if you've got a situation like I do where you want to cover your face, like you look a lot better with your fucking half your face covered.
And if honestly, if
beautiful
you're
eyes.
weird about being filmed all the time, every time you're in public,
That
isn't
was an
this
issue
a good
anyway.
thing?
Yeah.
Aren't you happy now that no one's going to be like, hey, you got to take that mask off, buddy? No walking around the gallery in a mask. Like now you can. You can sort of it
You can wear a weird,
bestows
crazy suit.
the gift of anonymity upon you. Like it's one thing when you're wearing sunglasses and you feel like you're somewhat distanced from the world, but sunglasses
Like
plus
a
a
rock
mask.
star.
You're like you're in the shadow world from Stranger Things. You're slightly to the
liminal
left
space.
of reality. So I'm a bit struck by how pissy people are about that. And I think this...
It's because they're bored and they don't have any real oppression, and this needs to be their oppression. This is their cause.
So the mask resistance and the blaming of people not wearing masks ties into this idea of blame. And how one thing people are sort of looking for in this why is Victoria doing anywhere else is where do I point my fingers?
You meant that
Is it the Black Lives Matter protests? Is it the Ruby Princess being allowed in and people travelling all over the country? Is it Daniel Andrews hiring private contractors?
Being a Nazi.
Is it people going...
And a fascist.
Being a Nazi...
Fascist, all at once.
Is it people,
It's the
going
high-rise
out-
flats.
It's the high-rise flats. It's Ramadan. It's cultural differences to do with masks. It's lockdown protesters and people who say that it's the whole pandemic is a scam. Is it? What the fuck was? People who get the test because they feel a bit sniffly, and then they work for a couple of days. And this is something that's sort of come up, and it's sort of Daniel Andrews actually hinted at it in one of his press conferences. He's like, part of the issue here is that there's a huge chunk of our workforce, and increasingly marginalised, increasingly large part of our workforce, who if they don't go to work, they're fucked. They're fucked because they don't get paid if they don't go to work, but they're also fucked because they get paid so little that they have nothing in the bank. Yeah, and even though we're scrambling to bail out airlines because apparently they can't put money aside for a rainy day, but you as an individual who works at Hungry Jack's, you should have put money aside for a rainy day. So this is the issue where, it's like, yeah, sure, if you feel sick, you shouldn't work.
You got $300 coming to you.
Well, I don't because I work from home anyway.
Not eligible for anything.
Yeah, but it's sort of, it's kind of interesting, and it's one of the issues that all this stuff is exposed. As we said back at the start when we're talking about will America, are they primed to survive this? No, they're primed to fail. Because everything they've done has put responsibility on the individual while at the same time creating such an insanely competitive race that so many people are doomed to not be able to compete.
Is it that maybe unfettered capitalism is maybe terrible for people?
Who'd have thought that it would be great for billionaires and terrible for the 99% of the people in the earth? And so what we've got is we've got this society now where we want everyone, if everyone could just stay home for a month, sure, people would go a bit weird and crazy and there would be a mental health consequence to that, but there is anyway because we're protracting the lockdown. But if they just said, everyone, look, here's the deal, you're going to get like $700 a week, your rent's frozen, everyone just stay the fuck home, and it's easy to get, you don't have to line up to Centrelink. Like if they just did a universal basic income just for a couple of months, we could kick it. And we could isolate it. And they keep saying we want suppression, not elimination, because we're going to still have people coming in from overseas.
Because we want people to die.
But yeah, we've created a society that is geared to fail this sort of situation because people can't afford to stay home. Like even the people who are on casual incomes have had the very value of their casual income slashed over the last year or so with the attacks on penalty rates and stuff. And it's like, what the fuck do you think is going to happen if we as a society attack workers and attack workers' rights and attack protection for the poor and the vulnerable, and then we're like, by the way, you're going to stay home or you'll make each other sick, and they're like, we can't afford it.
Yeah, and then we reprimand them and blame them when they choose to work. So as we struggle to point our finger at the culprit, once again, as always, the finger ultimately should land on capitalism. What is it? Oh, it seems like it's always
fucking, and again, not in theory. It's like, communism. But in theory, capitalism is fine. In practice, it's the same system of kings and queens lording over us dirty peasants that have always been in place. They just wear suits and operate in boardrooms and are pretending to be politicians, but they're glorified businessmen. But don't get me started on the fucking church. All right. Now we're going to take this thing home with a series of exciting little dot points that we'll just riff on a little bit.
You ready? Exciting dot.
Okay, Parliament's not going to open, but schools have to. Suck my fucking dick, Parliament. So let me get this straight. It's safe for kids, it's safe for that, but you don't want to risk yourself. It's the biggest,
a little dangerous,
shameless example of rules for us and not rules for you. That
and then
I
they've
think
got those studies
so
recently where a bunch of kids are actually now sick.
Of course they fucking are. Kids get sick.
People are people.
And the kids can give it to their parents. And
their grandparents who will probably die.
And we've talked about how hard teachers have worked in this period, but at the same time, it's like, fuck them. Go get sick. Like, how many teachers are over 50?
Me.
Tons.
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
So that's just fucking lame, hypocritical.
It's also that idea.
Federal government, if it's safe, then you go back to work too, arsehole, because God knows your pays aren't being frozen.
Well, fucking do it on Skype like everyone else, you psycho.
Yeah, have shitty fucking Zoom House of Parliament bullshit like everyone else does.
I feel like there's an idea with
hosted
old people
by the speaker,
where we're like,
speaker hosts.
we're like, doesn't matter if old people die, they old. Where it's like, are you crazy? Old people, have you ever played an RPG? Your highest level characters have the most points in them.
Yeah,
why would we be so chill about? I mean, sure, they're gonna die. Like, people do die, obviously, accept that. But like, 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds, even 50, 60, 70, they all have a heck of a lot to offer. Why? Like, that's so ageist.
Because
it's ageist bullshit. And when you're 20, you don't really think about it in those terms. You just don't.
An extended lifespan, like anything else, is a privilege. And it's a privilege accorded chiefly to the wealthy who can pay for the costs of having an extended lifespan.
Don't you feel like you grew up thinking, though, you were going to reach 70 for sure?
Yeah, so average male life expectancy in Australia.
And now, I can't even afford a fucking dentist.
Yeah, but that's just it. But I think coronavirus has kind of brought that into stark reveal, where you're like, oh, it's a real-time thing where we can look at how it costs money to live into old age.
Yes.
It's a privilege, it is a gated privilege, and now we're seeing the
It even
virus
has superannuation. People who are like, I bought a house. I'm like,
this many people have pulled money out of their superannuation just to pay their fucking rent now. In the meantime, and sure, I'm sure a handful of them have taken it out to spend the money on PlayStations and weed. But most people have pulled it out to just pay for essential services. What the fuck happens to them down the line? So it's a nice... At least
they won't have housing because there's no housing for public people.
Yes. I think it's one of those sort of, much like 9/11, I don't necessarily think it was caused by the wealthy elite, but they're sure as fuck going to capitalize on it. And that's what they're doing. Dear job seekers, get fucked. So what's happening is, even though things haven't gotten better, in fact, they've gotten worse.
That's good, isn't it?
It's gotten worse, but even then, even though we need people to stay home and work less just to prevent infection, they're going to be making it harder for job seeker. So job seekers are going to be expected to go back to mutual obligation. Anyone who's dabbled in that knows what a shit show it is.
I remember about 5, 6 years ago, I almost ended up, they told me, like, I had all these skills across, like, websites, filmmaking, like, I have 3 degrees, and they're like, Josie, we found you a place painting gnomes. I'm like, oh. I'm like, thank God, I got a job about 2 weeks after that. But I almost had to live my life painting gnomes. Now, I'm sure that would have been a beautiful existence, but how is that what?
Oh, they don't give a shit. They just want their commissions.
Painting gnomes.
So mutual obligation, which of course is something that the government has outsourced to their private friends.
It's such a disgusting phrase. It's like,
and then giving them the power to punish them. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be put back on the hands of those people.
How's it mutual?
Never mind.
Give me my fucking money.
So mutual obligation, it usually involves dealing with job networks, whose basic job it is to find you a shit job and then take a commission.
Because they've privatized that aspect, and it's like, it's all, like, have you ever been in the dole queue and then, like, you see the people who are in your dole queue get jobs at job networks? It keeps the money moving around.
We keep the unemployed.
Like, the amount of people who were getting employed at job network from the dole was obscene. Like, you'd be next to someone in a line one day and then they would be, like, interviewing you the next time.
It would mean that when you're having arguments with them at the counter, you could say, one day I'll be sitting in your seat.
I'm coming for your job.
And never mind the fact that the people working in these job networks are now going to have to be exposed to heaps of poor people which encompasses a big chunk of Australia now that so many people have lost their jobs, but also with poorness, poverty, we've seen comes with difficulties in terms of defending yourself against coronavirus. So now the people who work in job networks are also going to be in danger as well, because they'll be exposed to people. So you can come in for meaningless interviews and then be directed to a 10-year-old PC covered in coronavirus fingerprints to update your resume.
They don't know how to update your
and learn how to write a cover letter. And are they going to get the materials they need to keep themselves safe? They're going to be sterilising these computers.
Don't forget, do you remember how they
just
put people into those highly offensive streams where you're stream 1, 2,
Scum Cunt 1,
yeah.
Scum Cunt 2, Scum Cunt 3.
Doesn't know how to write or speak English.
Yeah, that sort of
horrible, dehumanizing process.
I'm going to take this home with a celebrity infection.
Ooh.
You are going to fucking love this.
Am I?
Okay, so in the last couple of months, a couple of celebrities have gotten sick.
I love a celebrity infection because you're just like,
Idris
what?
Elba got sick, and I think he just conquered the disease with his raw sex powers. Tom Hanks got sick, and then he was just too fucking nice, and the virus just left.
Goodbye.
Yeah, but a celebrity who's a little more polarizing did get sick. And I'll give you a hint. When he was having trouble breathing, he said, "Give me back my lungs!"
Give me back my face.
Mel Gibson.
No!
Give me back my face. He doesn't say give me back my face. He says give me back my soul.
Oh, right.
And what I like to do is mash Ransom and Men Without a Face together. Give me back my face. But yeah, he was all give me back my lungs. Mel Gibson got coronavirus, confirmed by his people, which sure as hell ain't the Jews. But he got sick, and in part of his treatment was that drug remdesivir. So that was part of his treatment. So he's all better now.
What's that drug?
Remdesivir.
Who's that drug?
So it's not the chloroquine shit. It's something else. It's
because the name is different. I would have assumed so. Yes.
I tell it different because it's a different word.
Yeah.
Chemical level.
I'm a very smart person.
So Mel Gibson got coronavirus and kicked coronavirus.
Because he's rich. I mean, that does not surprise me.
Well, yeah, it's like...
Has anyone not cool, but like famous died? Yeah.
Tim Brooke Taylor of the Goodies. I remember being struck by his
old.
death. He was, but Marianne Faithfull's old, and she got coronavirus a month or so ago.
I also read that a 103-year-old man somewhere didn't die. So that's...
He didn't die. Nailed it. Hope for 103-year-olds everywhere.
I love how you can take... I feel like there's a thing where you're like, okay, a 103-year-old man lived, I'm going to be fine. And then you read like a 30-year-old died, and you're like, I'm fucked.
What was the 41-year-old Broadway actor
why do individual...
who had his leg cut off and then still died?
Like the individual cases, you try to like read them to be like, maybe
that would be me.
That's how I would handle it. Like, obviously, the terrifying thing is nobody knows how you'll handle it.
Oh yeah, it's not great. Like one of the things I found was jacked 41-year-old loses 20 pounds of muscle. No! Can't do cardio anymore. And I'm like, oh!
That's too triggering. I don't like it. I don't like reading that. I know there was an article in the paper on the weekend about a woman.
Tiny orange-haired girl dies of coronavirus. And there's a picture of her like someone found after the ring. Like, ring cut here. Back. Anyway, in closing, continue to wash your hands.
Play Shadow Raid Legends.
Raid.
NordVPN.
NordVPN. Cough into the crook of your arm and then catch people in chin locks so you rub your infection on. And we'll all be fine or dead, which, you wouldn't know the difference anyway. So no matter how it pans out, we'll be fine.
Wave. Okay, good.